This is the Above Average Podcast, and you are listening because you want an above average life. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, the podcast where we talk to above average people about their above average lives. Now, my guest today is a stand-up comedian with deep roots in the council estates and dreams bigger than a plumbing apprenticeship. He's openly gay, proudly Geordie, and has turned his knack for performance into a full-time career with material that's camp, clever, and hilarious in all the right ways. He's a former lab assistant, a theatre teacher, a wrestling trainee, and a fierce believer that some people are just born to entertain. But beneath the laughs is a story about self-acceptance, breaking out of the boxes you're raised in, and finding power in being exactly who you are, even when the world doesn't always make space for it. So please welcome Mr. Connor Reid to the show. How are you, mate?
I'm very well, thank you for that. Honestly, I'm going to use that for my next stand-up comedy bio. That's impressive.
I will send it to you and you can have it, mate. That's absolutely fine.
That's phenomenal, that information in one bit.
But it's a long time coming and there's a lot to get through with you, mate, because you're a very interesting guy. So, I know, obviously I said you had deep roots in the council estates, which makes you sound like a low-level meth dealer, but that's not true. So tell me a little bit about your early life growing up, where you grew up, like what was that environment like to grow up in?
North Shields, I suppose. I mean, it was a mix between North Shields and New York. It was a council estate literally on the border,
yes,
right?
Not actual New York.
No, God,
a lot of people don't realise there's a New York over there.
Yeah. So I grew up there on a council estate, and I don't know. To me, it's just normal. I can't compare it to anything else. It was just life. But yeah, and same as any old council estate. If you know, you know. But yeah, I can't really say much more. Ask me more questions and get something out of this.
More about the council estate.
Yeah, bring back their memories that are locked away.
Because obviously we say, like, obviously it's funny, isn't it? Because where people are raised, there's a lot about, it tends to be where they end up. Like a lot of the environment that you grow up in tends to be where you end up, but obviously you've broken out of that by quite a bit, I would say.
Yeah.
So what was the mindset of a lot of people that you grew up with back then in terms of their careers and their jobs and what they want to go and do?
Well, it was all about getting a trade, about making money. There was no level of what you should do as a passion. I was never taught what to do as a passion. Looking back now, every job I do is performing arts based, theatre based. And I was never introduced to that in my entire life on the council estate. Never once did it come up. Yeah. But I suppose without it being intentional, it was a very masculine environment. Boys will be boys and girls should be girls. And there was specific sort of archetypes that you had to follow in order not to get your head kicked in.
Yeah. So, did you ever get your head kicked in?
No. Stayed in the house most of the time.
Fair. So with the performance side of things, were you always maybe it's like were you that show-off child a little bit? Like, where did performance sort of start for you?
There's a weird balance there because I was practically mute. I mean, if you took me in front of anyone that I didn't know or didn't feel comfortable with, absolute silent. I would be attached to my parents' hip, like you couldn't get anything out of this. So there's a part of me that goes, I should never have been a performer because I wouldn't give anything. You couldn't ask me a question and get a response.
Yeah.
But then put me in my own comfort zone, and yes, I was the entertaining sort of attention-seeking child, always putting on little shows and things dressing up. So there was a weird balance there. But it took me till about 17, I would say, till I ever, broke that sort of spell of being super, super shy.
Yeah. Were you shy? I'm guessing you were like shy in school, like you were kind of like maybe sat at the back, maybe you didn't really put your hand
Head
up.
Down, Head down, keep out of bother. You have your close circle of friends that, again, in that group, you're the laugh when you're in your comfort zone. But outside of that, you make sure you're not drawing any attention to yourself.
Keep your head down. Don't get your head kicked in on them council estates.
Oh, yeah. It was pure survival tactics.
There's people in America going, what's a council estate? It's interesting, though, because obviously I was kind of the same as you. I was very much, like, reserved in school. Like, every school report said Adam needs to participate more, put his hand up, speak up. Yeah. And then it's like, it's funny when you look at us now and, like, you're on stage, I'm doing a podcast and stuff. It's interesting how there's always that part of you that wants to sort of to shine through. So when you said it's 17 that kind of came about, what was the catalyst for that eventual shine through?
So I was doing GCSE performing arts at high school, and let's be honest, it's not really an introduction to the arts GCSE drama.
It's a bit of a piss take.
It's a piss take. It's English literature, something, in a more performative way, right? Yeah. So you really don't get a true taste for it. But when I was leaving high school, I was getting put into a trade for an apprenticeship, and therefore I wasn't able to carry on any sort of theatre studies. And a friend of mine who also did GCSE drama says there is a place called the Pauline Quirk Academy, and you can pay a monthly membership and you can go there and you studied an hour in film and television, musical theatre and acting. And that was like once every Saturday or something. And we both went for a trial. She didn't continue with it, and I did, and that was kind of me sort of breaking out of that, because even my dad especially was like, I can't believe you're willingly going to something where you don't know anyone, you know, because it was the first time I was going into an environment where I wasn't comfortable, willing to put myself on stage and with a bunch of people I didn't know, which is unheard of for me at the time.
Well, most people, they'd say the biggest fear, that most people would rather die than do public speaking. So imagine trying to act and perform is like, that's...
Yeah.
But there was obviously that spark in you that wanted to do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I had to weigh up my options when I was leaving high school. I was thinking, do I go to an A-level, because that's where everyone was going. And, you know, I got accepted at Queen Alexandra Sixth Form, which is no longer a thing. I got accepted to study, I think it was fine art, textiles, and theatre studies.
Okay.
And there was... the family were rather amused by that
It's
selection.
quite a little niche mix.
It should have been a coming out story, but none of them took the hint, and instead it was like, here's a plumbing apprenticeship.
So who pushed you towards the plumbing apprenticeship?
Well, it was me dad with his contacts. He knew some people who were doing plumbing, and they were willing to take us on as an apprentice.
Got it.
I think there was a mutually beneficial thing of, if you take on an apprentice, you get a certain amount of money from the government. So, there was some dealings going on there, I'm sure. Yeah. But I tried it, and to say I didn't enjoy it, I didn't really enjoy it, but there were elements I did enjoy. But the real reason why I left is just because it all fell through in terms of the setup. As I say, it was sort of like my family putting it in place, and the lads that took us on, bless them, had the best intentions but didn't have the work, and without the work you don't get the training. But I was always told, getting the plumbing apprenticeship, you'll make loads of money, you'll always have work, and they were the two things that I didn't get. So I was like, I think I've proved you wrong, now let's do things my way. And that's when I left the plumbing apprenticeship and chose to study something else.
Nice. Chose to study something else? What did you choose to study?
I went into musical theatre at Newcastle College. Studied that for 2 years.
Okay. Well, obviously, you mentioned to me you started the comedy side of things around 18. Is kind of when you say that it's so. Was that like a comedy workshop? Did you say it was?
Yeah. So you've had Lauren Patterson on, and it was a very similar story to Lauren Patterson. Both went to the live theatre, although a decade apart, and we both went there. We had a workshop. And from that, you end up doing a showcase, and that's like your first stand-up comedy experience.
How did you write that material? Like, what was it a case of, like, I'm staying in my room writing it all out, like chesting it on family members? Like, how did you come up with the first comedy routine?
It was through the workshops. So brilliant comedian John Scott, who you'll often see in the local scene. He basically tutored us, mentored us, and you would essentially write jokes at home, bring them in, and he would go over them and tell you if it's a joke or not.
Okay.
And then he would,
even though comedy is supposed to be subjective, he's like, that's not a fucking joke, mate.
You get to a certain point and you go, that's not going to work on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly it was just that sort of method of bringing stuff in and letting him look over it, but also him suggesting ways to improve it. Honestly, he still does workshops now. If you ever want to do a workshop, go to John Scott. He's absolutely fantastic. But that was sort of the whole process, writing things, bringing them in, testing them on stage in front of your peers. That's another way you find out if it works.
Especially at 18. That's ballsy.
There were people in there who were 12.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
So you had to tone those jokes down a lot.
Well, this is where conflict came in, because I'm 18.
Right.
I'm 18, and that was where I first came out. Actually, was in a workshop with John Scott. Because he asked us what I wanted to be, and I thought, well, I can't be closeted and do gay jokes because that sounds homophobic. So I just had to say it. I'm a gay lad, and so my inspirations were obviously gay comedians, and the go-to was Julian Clary. If you know anything about Julian Clary's work, it's not very PG.
No.
Even people who go to the Palladium for pantomime complain about how unchild-friendly it can be. And so, bearing in mind, and Lauren explained this in the podcast, that at live theatre, when you're doing these graduation shows at the end of the workshops, the audience is mainly parents of, like I say, the 12-year-olds that also partaken, and the grandparents, so much older generation. And me going up there doing Julian Clary style, innuendo fisting jokes, didn't go down well.
That's the TikTok clip, guys. Fist and jokes in front of 12-year-olds. That's what it is.
I dare say this on camera, but I opened with an Anne Frank joke as well.
Do you remember it?
I shan't repeat it.
Oh, come on. Oh, you can't leave us on that one.
Absolutely not.
You can say whatever you want on this podcast.
Yeah, it was so innocent. It was essentially describing because the studio we were in was a converted attic space.
Okay.
And so there was a reference there of the environment being like XYZ. And yeah, it just didn't land. And of course it didn't land. That's Anne Frank is not a punchline, and comedians need to realise that, because it still gets used.
Isn't there an Anne Frank musical or something somewhere? I saw this. Apparently, I swear to God.
Sounds distasteful.
Anyone listening? I know it because I saw it on Instagram. I was like, surely this can't be a fucking thing, but I'm pretty sure it is. It's like a staged musical about Anne Frank. Yeah, Connor, look it up. You can
God
be the guy
forbid
from
she's tap dancing upstairs. That'll be a short-lived musical, wouldn't it?
But I was like, how do you do a musical about Anne Frank? The whole point was she was quiet in an attic.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Apparently it is a thing.
Yeah, that's amusing.
But,
Slam Frank.
Slam Frank.
That's got to be a comedy.
What's the tagline for it? Does it say?
Slam Frank is a 2025 off-Broadway satirical hip-hop musical based on the story of Anne Frank.
That's outrageous.
It sounds the most disgraced.
does,
Hip-hop
doesn't it?
and Anne Frank. There's
Don't go
something
together.
not clicking.
No, it doesn't. But moving on from the offensiveness, are you much of it? Because obviously you went at the theatre side, the acting side. Are you much of a film person? Is there a type of role that you would love to land if you land on TV and things like that?
Well, I'm highly available and I'll do absolutely anything. But no, not really. I mean, it's been so long since I've did any acting. And I think it was 2014, perhaps in March, April time. I did something with the live theatre again when I had to act for a role. It was like a 10 minutes play. And I just hated the experience. It was a very unusually intense day. You know, you got given the script on the day. You met the cast on the day, you staged it, you blocked it, you learnt it, you met the director. So much information overload for that experience if you've not done it in a few years. So then go into that type of intense environment. But I hated it. And from that I went, you know what it is, I'm probably not best suited for film or television or theatre acting anymore.
I think you'd be great for it, yeah.
That's
I think you've with your voice as well, you've got quite a good, like, I would listen to audiobooks with your voice as well. You know,
I've definitely got my telephone voice on right now.
Oh, have you? This is the professional voice.
Yeah.
Audiobook voice.
Just making sure people can understand us, yeah.
Yeah, because you're quite, like, I feel like you're quite well-spoken for someone from North Shores.
Yeah, everyone used to say that. My nana growing up, because a lot of my comedy's about my nana, and she was very working class, very rough, and loved it a bit, but she always used to mention, oh, he's so well-spoken. And they used to put it in me nana Sophie, who was, war generation, me great nana, who really helped bring me up on my mum's side. But even she, was Geordie.
Yeah.
I think... Well,
there's a difference between a grandma and a nana. There's a big difference between the two,
See,
I think.
I never differentiate them by language. Okay. So I just say nana, great nana.
Well, for me, it was always, I had a nana who was on my dad's side and grandma was on my mum's side. My grandma was Scottish, and she was like, prim, proper, whatever. And then me nana, she would like smoke, and she lived in a place called Leam Lane, which is quite a rough place from here. So they were very different. Because you've mentioned like the style of nana that your nana was. So tell me a bit about it, because she obviously plays a big part in your comedy routines.
Yeah, she was from Wallsend.
Say no more.
Yeah. Smoked like a trooper, drank like a trooper, if that's even a saying. Just rough as fuck is what she was. If I'm allowed to swear on here.
Yeah, of course you are. Yeah.
Do I justice? She wouldn't have minded us swearing. But yeah, she just was proper salt of the earth, and unapologetically her.
Yeah.
I mean, potentially the type of person you'd dread to take her to the theatre. There's a story of her going to Sunderland Empire with me mum and dad to go and see a spiritualist. Okay. And me nana wasn't the type of kettle of fish to go to the theatre. That was probably our one and only time that she went. Yeah. And there's just a story of her in her bag bringing her own can of Carlin, because they didn't serve that, obviously. Brilliant. And her like can open, trying to squeeze through all the chairs and acts like he's swilling someone with it, and just like not even apologising, going, nah. You know what I mean?
That's how I imagine nanas to be, because in my head it is, nanas are rougher than grandmas. Grandmas are like prim and proper, and nanas don't give a flying.
Oh yeah, she'd scrap anyone. Yeah, hard as nails.
So you obviously had that quite close relationship, because obviously you speak about her a lot in the comedy and stuff like that. So you must have had that quite a close relationship.
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to go to hers basically every weekend. Mm-hmm. But the interesting thing, she was quite a closed book. She'd actually sit there quite quietly and just like with a blank expression looking at the TV. But in some way, just me sitting in silence with those quite a bond. But that's where a lot of my comedy is about. The great shame that is you find out a lot more about your relatives when they're gone rather than when they were alive. And rightfully so, you know, my nana passed when I was quite young. I think I was about 13. And, you know, usually a 13 boy isn't that interested in asking about his nana's life.
Stuff,
really asking any questions. So obviously I didn't. But the more time goes on and the more I find out about it, I go, oh, what a character. Like, if only she was still around, such a character. That's why I use in comedy, because I go, one, there is a level of relatability there, especially if you come from a working class background.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you go, oh, this is one of a kind.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that, man. I love that. I mean, my grandparents passed when I was young, and I've tried to find out more about them. I've done like the ancestry and things like that, thanks to the caller over there as well. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I love hearing about where people come from. But something you mentioned on the phone to me, it was just a brief thing in passing. It was something about how some people are just born to do certain things, so born to perform, more or less. So when did that? Because obviously you kind of had that. You were the show off kind of kid sometimes, and then you went into musical theatre and stuff. When did it click that this is something that you really have to pursue, and that nothing else really matters?
Yeah, it sounds really arrogant when you put it like, oh, you're born to perform, but it's not an essence of entitlement or like, you know, God-given right. It's more the essence of I can't function without a creative outlet. Like, I have to have it. Even if I don't earn money from it, I will be doing it as a hobby. And some people are just wired that way. So I think the first time I realised I needed that was probably when I was leaving high school. I mean, all through primary school, whether you do theatre or not, you play as a child. And you might do that in year 7.
Yeah.
And then in high school, there's less of that. But then you're going to move into doing drama. And then you'll probably take a GCSE if you really like it. And then when you've, like for me, found out I was going into apprenticeship, I was going, oh, I no longer have that creative outlet. And that's why I chose to go to like the Pauline Quirk Academy on the weekend. So again, I was pursuing that outlet. And when I decided to leave the apprenticeship, I went, right, that's when I have to pursue it. So I went into college, did the musical theatre course. Yeah. And then at the same time, I was at live theatre, exploring stand-up comedy. And once I got a taste of that, I went, that's what I want to do.
Was it a case of like, even if I had to do this for free, I would still pursue it as much as possible?
And that's how it starts. Everyone does it for free. And it's not easy. Like, you're travelling up and down the country, you're putting in miles, you're spending 9 hours on a megabus with awful people with no etiquette. And then
BO problems.
And, you know, and you're then doing 5 minutes to a room that sometimes don't like you. And you've got to do the journey back. And then usually people are working full-time jobs and you've got to do that the next day. It's a grueling schedule for a hobby. But some people just need it.
Yeah. Well, you hear a lot these days, like, because a lot of people, when I started doing like life coaching stuff, was something that I initially wanted to do, and I found a lot of people obviously wanted it for free, but then they wouldn't turn up because they're not paid for an investment on it, kind of thing. So it's really hard to convince people these days, I think, to turn something that they're really passionate about into a job and to get money from it, because it is so hard to kind of to get past that initial period of it. So what do you think that is the biggest barrier, do you think, for most people? Because you've turned it into a full-time career recently, right?
Arguably, yes.
Arguably, yeah. So how is that? How did you manage to get over that initial period, like where you just pushing through, you're getting like gigs get cancelled, here's like, you're not getting paid for this one. Like, how did you get through that initial experience?
Well, the first barrier, that especially if you come from a working class background, is going to be financial. So you're gonna be so dependent on a regular form of income that's usually minimum wage, and you know, if you are living alone and you've got expenses, the chances are you're never ever going to be in a comfortable position to take that leap and go, you know what it is, I'm going to sack this full-time job off and I'm going to go and do what at the time was a hobby, so therefore there's very little money in it, and try and build it from there. So that's going to be your first barrier, and that's the barrier I had. So I worked 3 years as a full-time laboratory assistant at P&G, and I was making a steady income from that. Fortunately for me, I didn't have many outgoings or expenses, but I also did nothing. So like I was saving as much as I could.
Yeah.
And I was working on top of that. I was facilitating again at live theatre with the youth theatre groups. I was doing little bits of stand-up locally paid work, which again was money in the kitty. And eventually after the 3 years, I just built up enough cash to go, okay, this will sustain me for at least a year. And people were looking at me as if I was mad. They were looking at the money I had and went, that'll not last a year.
Yeah.
But I'm good with money. So I managed to make it last 2 years. But that's going to be your initial barrier is the financial side and making that leap. In order to progress from making it a hobby to paid work, you've just got to do what the pros tell you to do, which is you're going to start at 5, you're not going to get paid. You're going to progress to a 10, you're not going to get paid. You're then going to do 15-minute spots, potentially not get paid, sometimes get paid. Most of your trial spots breaking into paid work are going to be unpaid. It's just... It's kind of the industry takes advantage of people.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It's very much how much can we get out of this person for free.
Yeah.
Even if your set is like a phenomenal 10-minute set, if you never gig for that person, you're going to do it for free.
Yeah.
And you're going to earn the chance to get paid.
Yeah.
And when you do get paid, you're going to do a middle spot and it's going to be for pittance. It's all about money. I think, like I say, the only reason why I've been able to do it is because I worked there 3 years, earned enough cash.
Because you were doing like 7-day weeks as well.
Yeah. So I was, like I say, all the facilitation work, the comedy on top, then the full-time job. It was just continuous. But that's what I mean by I wouldn't never call myself a pro comedian or a full-time comedian yet, because although that is my main form of income, it's still not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like there's
still a few gaps that you need to plug.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I'm content with that. And when I left my job, I didn't leave it to go, I'm going to become a full-time comic. I left it because I went, I want the luxury of free time.
Yes.
And being able to focus on a creative job.
Yeah.
And it's a luxury most people, especially in my background, don't get.
Yeah.
So,
What's interesting was just in my own experience as well, because obviously I wanted to be a public speaker and do a lot of stuff with like podcasts and things like that. And obviously most of them are free. Like I've been paid a couple times for speeches.
Yeah.
But one thing that I was really adamant is wherever I was asked to speak, I was like, can I film it?
Yes.
And I was like, because most of the people that I would go to, because there's other speakers there or whatever, and you'll go to these gigs where there's other comedians, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like if it's not filmed these days, I think it's almost pointless. Like
Right.
a lot of the gigs that I think if you can't make TikToks or something like that to get your name out there a bit more, you've wasted a massive opportunity on it. So like if I'm going to a speech, I'm filming it. If it's camera in the corner, I'll get a few clips out of this.
Yes.
Because I think these days now, it's like if you just go to a speech, no one knows but the people in that room. But if you've got it on camera, people can see it worldwide. You never know what's going to go viral. So I think on my side of that perspective, it's like if you're going to do something for free, turn it to your advantage, get it filmed or whatever. If you're a performer, get something filmed or
it's something
a review
I'm
or
focusing
something.
on this year, absolutely, because I stay away from social media, because me and a few peers of mine are all of the same mindset that we hate other creatives who put content out there for content's sake. Because you go, if you're looking at your profile as a body of work, the standard varies so much. And so really, in an ideal world, you just want to put out the good stuff.
Yes.
But in respect to algorithm, that's not possible. You have to be a content chain.
You have to be a personal brand in this day and age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, it's give and take. So, I've been going 4 years now, and I've prevented myself from putting anything out there. And a lot of pros actually used to say, don't put anything out there, because the theory was, if you do a joke and you put it on the internet, everyone's heard the joke, it's not going to then work in the club.
That's true.
The reality is the people who see it online are probably in Australia, Canada, and God knows where else. They're not going to see me performing in North Shields, so it's not actually going to be that much of a problem. The reality is the industry's changed, and you need social media, and God, you should work at it. And it's something that I'm going to have to work on this year. I need to put content out there.
Yeah.
Because it's so powerful. As you say,
get yourself a little lapel microphone, attach it to your phone, put a tripod in the corner, you're good, I mean, I've seen a lot more comedians do it now, and there is some that do it better than others in terms of subtitles and things like that, but I think it's just needed in the modern age. For any creative thing, people need to see what you're doing.
Exactly.
And I hate to post on social media. I fucking can't stand it.
Yeah.
I'm like, me and Collar will do all this work on the show, and then it'll be like, it'll get like 200 views. I'm like, fuck.
Right,
But, like,
yeah.
I want it to go like more, I want more and more
Yeah,
views. Or I'm
yeah.
like, this was really good. Why didn't I get views? But you just got to keep spewing it out almost. Like, I
Yeah.
hate the word spewing it out. It sounds like you're just throwing it, like you said, for content's sake.
Yeah.
But you never know what's going to land and what's going to
Exactly, yeah. And my friend Psychic Stew, who you can find on the TikToks.
Psychic Stew?
Psychic Stew,
I like
yeah.
that, yeah.
He's brilliant. He always says, people want grit. People want raw footage of you doing everyday things. It doesn't have to be like a film production.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be scripted and perfect. Like, just you talking about your day sometimes are the most popular views you'll ever do.
Absolutely.
And you've put the least amount of effort into it, but it'll just boom. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that's so frustrating, but also so true.
It's flipped though, because it used to be the most professional stuff, like people
Yeah.
would stop and watch. Now everyone's so inundated with AI stuff and like more professional stuff. It's like everyone's craving that, just like someone in front of their phone filming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That like sort of like intimate look into someone's life
Yeah.
it sells a lot more. So I would love to see you walking around to telling jokes to your phone and stuff like that. I think
Yeah.
it'd be an interesting like dynamic. So I'm hoping to see that in future. But I want to talk openly because I asked you on the phone, and I know it's for some people it's a sensitive subject, but obviously your sexuality is an openly gay man, right?
Yes.
So you talk about it in your comedy set, and I love the bit that you do about the snatchers. I don't want to give away the
Yes.
joke in case people see it, but I think it's genius. But the way you sort of revealed it to your family as well, I think is a funny story. Like, I say revealed,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
just, what happened with that when you? Because obviously you said it was like 17 when you sort of came out. So
Yeah, so obviously I went into musical theatre, and I met someone there who ended up being my boyfriend, and there was no big coming out story. I mean, again, when I was leaving high school and I wanted to do textiles and fine art
should
and
have been a
theatre
giveaway.
studios, how people weren't taking hints, I have no idea. And yeah, when I went into musical theatre, I met someone. And again, it wasn't a big coming out story. I just, I says, oh, such and such is coming over to stay. And I was like, okay. And
Yeah.
then throughout that night, I live at home with my mum, and she kept being like, okay, so where are you staying? Are you staying on the settee? And I was
just like digging for
yeah,
information.
no, we're not staying on the settee. It's all right. You can have the living room. And it was like, all right, well, your sister's sleeping out, so maybe one of you could stay in her bed and you can stay in your house. I was like, no, that's
You're
not
like, Ma,
happening.
you ain't getting this.
Yeah, it just kept going on and on. All these, I've got blankets and bedding for if one of you want to sleep on the floor. I was like, and at one point I just have to say, he's sleeping in my room, and it was like,
The penny drop. Kind
yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
And that was a conversation for the next day. But
Yeah.
which I quite like that story. It kind of normalized it.
Because the thing I liked about that was you didn't sit them down and you didn't say like this big speech or whatever. You just kind of like, this is this
someone.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have to deal with it now.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
know,
yeah.
was there a bit of a time when you obviously invite this guy over? Was there a time where you think, oh shit, now I'm gonna have to have this conversation?
Well, I think that's the entire situation that unfolded was because I was unwilling to have the conversation. I didn't want to have it.
So you kind of brute forced that almost.
Yes, I just went, here it is,
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than having to explain or have that conversation. And look, my life was a lot easier because my sister's lesbian, an older sister.
Okay, right,
So
yeah.
it's like, I kind of already knew we were in a safe zone.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So it was like, if you could get your head around that, you can get your head around this. You know what I mean? It's not too far.
Yeah, well, you mentioned in a podcast that you did with Kelly. So you mentioned this guy that you met at the musical theatre thing, and
Yes.
you mentioned that there was quite at first you didn't quite get on. There was kind of a bit of a barrier there. You
Yeah,
mentioned.
one-sided. I didn't like them.
Yes, but I'm curious because you started talking about like acting like a mirror because you hadn't quite fully come out yet. I'm just curious, like what was it like having to try and come to terms with that sort of part of your sexuality? I guess at the time.
it's not something I realised. So obviously through high school, you're masking.
Yes.
You don't want to, be a stereotype and everyone to know you're gay. So you kind of try to play up more the masculine, boisterous side, and then go into a plumbing apprenticeship. You don't want to unmask there. I tell you what, that's a very masculine environment if I knew one. And just my whole life, you're kind of masking. And then musical theatre, suddenly no one is. Suddenly everyone's, apart from me, seems very accepting of themselves. Or even if they're straight lads, they're not bothered about getting up and singing and dancing and prancing around because they're so confident in themselves and in the variety and ways in which they can express themselves. They're in touch with that. We call it a feminine side. It's not feminine to, be yourself, let's be honest.
Yeah, no.
So yeah, when I first went there and I saw how much they were comfortable with themselves. Like, one big thing I had with them was they were wearing a cardi. I couldn't get my head around how a lad could wear knitwear.
Cardigan,
I mean, look at me now. But
I love it, by the way.
I love a jumper now. I love knitwear. But even something as subtle as that, to me, growing up on the counter estate, being brought up as a lad, you know, it was kind of embedded into you that this is how a man presents.
Yes,
and so seeing someone who defied that was a bit like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, I suppose. You know, they had a big bar, what's it called, the bar earpiece, and you have in the top of your ear.
I don't know what the name is.
But you know, you had that, which is a very stereotypical gay thing to have. Things like ankle socks. It's so bizarre. Things that you
I wear ankle socks.
Yeah, well, I do now. It's so bizarre, the things you sort of force masculinity onto. Like what type of socks you wear, what sort of hairstyle you have.
That,
So all these things, I was going, oh, this is everything I wasn't meant to be. I was taught not to be. You know, I wasn't allowed to be in the environments in which I was in. And all of a sudden I was in a space where everyone kind of accepted it. And over time, it didn't take me long to accept that. And then learned to like it a bit.
Yeah. So was it this sort of experience with this guy that taught you to sort of accept yourself?
A massive one, yeah. I mean, there was another experience when I was 16 and I was attending house parties. Was during that dip where I wasn't in education, wasn't in my plumbing apprenticeship, and wasn't yet in musical theatre. And so I was doing a few house parties, and there was someone that I met through that who was openly gay and quite. I mean, it was like having Boy George. That's how flamboyant.
Wow.
I mean, the big fedora hats, the boisterous outfits, the sort of the glam makeup. And at the time, I wasn't out then. I was 16, but you know, even that was such a lesson. And again, I had the same reaction to them of kind of being a bit close to them, liking them and being friends with them, but still being a bit closed. And it was, they were leading through example and showing, oh, it's okay to be like that. And it took me a while to learn that.
Yeah, it's the reason I bring it up is purely because I know, like, these days we crave authenticity in everything. Like, there's a world of fakeness, but there's also a world that I think there's still some people out there who, you know, don't like gay people, don't trust them, don't like. There's still that, even though in the modern day we like to think we see it on TV all the time, it's quite a common, like, it's normal. It's normal, right? But there's still that barrier of some people that, you know, maybe there's someone listening who hasn't quite accepted that part of themselves yet. So that's why I bring up that authentic side. But in terms of, obviously, after you finally, you know, you accept that part of yourself, you stop hating these gay guys for what they are. Like, what's the biggest lesson that you think that sort of experience with yourself and your own internal image has taught you?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, what in terms of, like, your experience, like, obviously, like, when this guy presented that mirror to you of parts that you didn't like, and obviously you accepting these parts of yourself, what's the biggest lesson you think going through that's taught you about yourself?
Oh, that it's far more, life's so much more enjoyable to be yourself. Like, I'm the quirkiest person, most collective person that you can come across, especially when it comes to music taste and things I enjoy. So many things that you think conflict, you know. We were talking earlier in depth about MMA and boxing, and then I'm, you know, wrestling, and you know, I'm also, I love Judy Garland, but I also know a lot of rap songs to Eminem. Like, there's so many things. Yeah, so it's like, I think some people are very much fixed in this is what I'm meant to be, or this is what I want to present, because they care what people think, and I do care what people think. Don't get me wrong. I'm very self and hyper aware, but it's just more enjoyable. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
It would be boring for me to try and fit in a box, especially a box made by someone else. I think that's another thing as a gay man. It's hard to be authentically yourself, even in the gay community as well. Because even other gay people will put you in a box of who you are and what you are.
Interesting. Tell me about that, because obviously I'm a straight guy. I don't know this from your perspective, so I'm surprised that that community would still have that.
Oh yeah, there's a massive toxic side of the queer community.
Okay, you'll have to explain that one.
Just like any other part in society, it's easier to categorize people and put them in a box, so it's easier to understand. People are far more complex than that. Yeah. So in the gay community, you know, you have these archetypes and stereotypes of like a club gay or circuit gay. There are people who attend gay bars, and that's kind of their personality.
Okay.
But then you have sort of more the queery more side, which is less sex based and more just like quirky, usually neurodiverse individuals. Is kind of the box they get. They don't really go out clubbed. But I mean, these are all archetypes. By no means are these actually real people. People are so much more complex than this. But you're kind of seen as, oh, you're one of us or not one of us.
Okay.
And then there's other gays that are normal human beings that just get on with their life.
Because I've met many people who like just seem like, you know, you would that there's no flamboyant makeup or clothing or whatever, and they're like, oh yeah, me and my husband, and I'm like, oh okay, like I didn't even, it doesn't even click, you know.
But there are members in the community that would struggle to engage with that person because they can't put them in a box that they understand.
That sounds like a more personal issue as well, deep within them
honestly,
as well,
because of what the world in which gay people grow up in, there's a lot of internalized homophobia. That's exactly what I had throughout high school and college, and I broke out of that. But a lot of that people still carry, even when they accept themselves to a degree, they still project a lot of that internalized homophobia on other people. So you also get the toxic masculinity side in the gay community where, you know, people really want to portray what a man is. You had a lot of this in the 80s, actually, where femininity sort of got shown as this sort of negative thing, and they wanted to platform this masculine side to prove that gay men are just like other men,
right?
And so you do get hyper and masculine males who detest effeminate males. It's a complex world, complex as any other part of the world, really.
Yeah, no, it sounds it's more complex than I realized. Because obviously you just see that online it's all about inclusion and stuff like that, but then there you go deeper into the surface and there's always that level of
I've recently, I'm a co-founder and still a committee member and volunteer of a Pride organisation. And that is one thing that I noticed creating that was how everyone talks about inclusivity and support when it comes to Pride. And actually there's a lot of backlash from even other Pride organisations of almost like this is our turf or this is what we do. It's almost like this fight for righteousness of like we're the freedom fighters and it's good. Well, contributing to the same.
Yeah, we're all on the same side, bro.
Yeah, like, but some people just want the glory, and it's bizarre. It really is bizarre. The more I look at it, like, if anyone asks me, I'm not really part of the community because you know my friends are a variety of individuals of all walks of life. I'm not. You know, I don't have a specific group of gay friends.
It's not your entire being.
Exactly. Yeah, it's almost irrelevant. So.
Yeah, because that's one thing I've talked to a few. I mean, I've had a few gay guests on as well. Like Stuart Hatton Jr. was on. He won Mr. Gay Worldwide. So you can imagine the level that he would be able to talk about.
And I can't imagine the pressure from the community, especially because winning all that, I presume, is all about image, isn't it? It's all about image and profile and what people think of you to vote for you.
Yeah, well, he was saying, I mean, he runs the dance studio next door, you know, and he was saying like some people pulled their kids out of the class when they realised he was gay, and I'm just like. I think I'd prefer a gay dance teacher, to be honest.
I mean, if anyone's going to be educated on how to do it, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes the stereotype works for a reason, you know?
Exactly.
But you've mentioned loving like camp comedy and also greats like Larry Grayson and stuff. So where does your own style of comedy fit into that lineage, and how have you adapted your comedy routines to sort of pay homage to that, do you think?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I would... This happened a lot throughout me finding the arts. I didn't really know what it was. Right, so for example, when I applied to go to Newcastle College to do musical theatre, I didn't realise really what musical theatre was. Put it this way, we had to do an audition where we were meant to bring a song, right? Most people would bring a song from a musical.
Right,
yeah.
Gotcha.
I came in with a gospel church song by Elvis Presley, which in my head I just went, oh, but this just showcases my vocal range. But, you know, at that point in time when I applied for the course, I wasn't registering that this is a specific genre. When I looked at the course, I went, okay, they have acting classes, they have singing classes, they have dancing classes. You can either in Newcastle College do dance, acting, or musical theatre. And I thought, well, musical theatre is just a combination of all three. To me, it was just like an intensive course.
Yeah.
But it's not, it's its own genre. So I have this habit of not realizing things even though I'm dabbling in them. So comedy, you know, I started taking comedy workshops before I ever really understood what the genre of stand-up was.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I started doing the workshops when John Scott said, oh, go away and research this person. Oh, you might like this person.
Yeah.
This might be a bit of your humour. I was going away and I was looking at people like Julian Clary, Paul O'Grady, Larry Grayson I found, Frankie Howard, Kenneth Williams, and yeah, once I had discovered them, I went, oh, this is my cup of tea. And I've ended up using a lot of their, I don't know, persona archetypes.
Style.
Yeah, a lot of their similar humor as well in my comedy set. And the way you can see that is, I like to believe, although I do tread the line sometimes, because I'm doing adult comedy clubs,
Yeah.
you know, in 2025, you know, going, ooh, doesn't really get as much of a laugh anymore as it did in the 1960s.
It's still worth throwing the odd one in, though, isn't it? Yeah,
It doesn't stop me. But yeah, so I like to think a lot of my influences have ended up making sure that I do innuendo, insinuation. I try to stay away from, unless I'm really using it as a tool to get a big reaction from the audience, like really vulgar crassness and really sexually explicit stuff. Because the thing I love about all them characters is they were stereotypes of their time, but a lot of their stuff had, apart from Julian Clary and maybe it's a bit of Lily Savage, most of them never reference their sexuality. I mean, they weren't allowed to in that time.
It's sort of just like the vocal range, the style maybe gave it away a little bit, but they didn't explicitly say
like I
it.
say, insinuation.
Yeah.
You know, how much Larry Grayson liked the milkman, you know, or like there was just so much more nuance rather than just saying I'm getting shagged up the arse.
Yeah.
Which you'll see a lot in the comedy clubs now. So I've tried to bring as much of that back as possible. Because not all of it works, as I say. You don't get laughs for certain things as you did in the 60s, which was seen as quite, ooh, how daring, as you do now in 2025.
Yeah.
So a lot of that I've brought on board, a lot of the nuance and the innuendo. But don't get me wrong, I still do a dick joke now and again.
Oh, you got to throw one in for good measure. Yeah.
Everyone
loves a dick joke. Even straight dudes love dick jokes. Yeah.
Hey, if they could have done it in their day, they would have done it too, I'm sure. So.
But I quite really enjoy, like, even though, like, I mean, as a stereotype, as a straight dude, I really enjoy gay comedians. I find that sort of effeminate side often, like, funnier than a lot of, like, just, I don't know what you would class, like, other comedians as, but, like, I love the sort of camp humor.
Yeah.
I always have. And that's what drew me to your comedy, because I think just the way you present it is very funny, and the way you come on as well. Like, I know you were always in your cardigans and stuff. It's just there's something about it just makes it's like a nice warming presence, I think. I don't know how else to describe
well,
it.
I think, thank you for saying that. I think I've took that as well from the likes of Larry Grayson and Frankie Howard, because they were such warm people. And this is the thing, and this is something that you don't get that often. I'm trying to think of any examples of gay male comedians in the comedy circuit today that are low status. A lot of them are high status, and they very much play the stereotype. Really bitchy and sassy, and you know they'll slate that person, they'll go in on that person.
Yeah.
Whereas my heroes, like, I look at them and you go, oh, you feel sorry for them. You almost want to modicolour them. They're delicate, vulnerable individuals.
Yeah, there's like a cuteness to it. Almost.
Yeah, and that's why. You know, I present myself almost like a old lady on stage, as a lot of people would describe me. You know, you go, oh God, isn't this an old soul?
Or it's the Jeffrey Dahmer glasses that do it sometimes.
Yeah. When I whack them out, yeah. There's just that element of going, you know, bringing that warmth to the stage. It's weird though, because I also have a high status energy, but I'm definitely low status persona, because the jokes always fall back down on me. I'm always making fun of myself and making fun of my background.
Yeah.
But there is an energy, like you say, that you get from gay comics.
Yeah.
It's a bit like, don't mess with me, I can't handle myself.
Yeah, it's that sass. It's that, yeah.
I might not fight in the car park, but I will give you an absolute dressing down on stage.
I think you can always tell, because I've been at the stand many times. I've seen a lot of stand-up comedians, and it's always in the way, I think, that they say hello when they come on stage.
Yes.
There's something in the way that they instantly, within those first few seconds, say hello or introduce themselves to the crowd, that you kind of know where the set's going to go and what kind of energy they give off. And you just come on like dead friendly, you know, you move the mic stand and whatnot. Like, it's just a friendly energy. It's like you can feel people kind of go, oh, okay, this is gonna be good. Do you know what I mean? There's none of that like.
You've got to go on with confidence. I admire comedians who are deadpan and low energy, because they walk on the stage. They take about really 30 seconds to say hello, and they go hello.
Yeah,
and it's like, oh, you're really starting this gig with no momentum. You know, there's no energy. Even
it's ballsy. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, let me hit that stage. I'll throw energy at them. They'll give me it back. Then we've got some momentum to roll with. Here's me jokes, laugh a lot, and it just rolls and rolls and rolls, and it gets like a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So, I do that, but I wish I could be more like. Well, take the risks other people do as well.
You though, you know, like sometimes you've got to find that congruent level of like is this me to do this? Because people can feel when it's not you doing, or unless you're very good at acting and your whole thing is an act. But I don't feel like yours is an act. You know what I mean? You come on.
It's a lot of myself, yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So yeah. But I'm curious, jumping back, because obviously I mentioned Stuart next door, who had people pull their kids out of his dance class for being gay. Have you ever faced much pushback and homophobia in the comedy circuit itself?
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because there was a point in time where I disagree with microaggression. I thought this wasn't a real thing. I thought you've either been hate crimed or you haven't. Same with racism. I'm going to be honest. I didn't believe, I couldn't understand microaggression, and I do understand it now, because I've never been homophobically heckled. I've never, experienced like what felt like true hatred. But there's just a lot of behavior where you go, you're getting away with this, but there's something we need to address that seems a bit hidden right now.
Okay.
So, for example, just the way you get booked in comedy. Usually, you'll not get booked against more than one gay on a lineup. It's very much like how women are treated in comedy. One woman, we've ticked the box. That's enough.
Yeah.
Same with gay comics. But I don't mind getting booked like that because it's money. If you need a gay, if you need a gay, I'll do it. All right,
that's right. Yeah.
But also, it's like I've done a gig where I was referred to as the gay.
Okay.
And there was another gig I did where where there was 3 of us on the lineup in the same section, which seemed intentional, and which we were referred to as the gays. And you're going, you're this isn't okay. That labeling, because we're all offering something different. Some of us aren't even talking about it, but it's a category you're putting us in.
Yeah.
It was just, and it was the way they said it. This is what I mean by microaggressions. It sounds like, but that's not a big deal. Like, you are gay, there was multiple of you, so you are the gays. It's plural, there's more than one gay. But you just go, I don't go this.
Why is that my defining feature?
Exactly. That's the best way to say it. Yeah, like I never walk into a comedy club and go, oh, the straights are on tonight. I mean, I would be generalizing everyone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a bizarre experience. But to be honest, the most homophobia I receive is from other comedians.
That's interesting though.
Which I find, and it's because they can. Because again, I don't know if it comes from a place of hatred, but a lot of people don't know how to connect with me. Most people can just talk to, and when someone's has no depth in conversation and just keep ribbing you with a bumming joke or a rib joke or they're almost like, it's weird. They're building this hyper sexualized image around you.
Yeah.
Like I say, most of my set isn't about sex, it's about me nana. But yet backstage they're always doing up the bum jokes, and I get it. It's like, on one hand, it's disguised as this sort of ribbon of, we're just getting along, like, we're comics, we're just having a laugh backstage. But I go, no, actually, this is a workplace. I don't know you very well at all. We don't talk outside of this environment. Yeah. So how are you feeling comfortable in a position to joke about my sex life as a source of amusement when it's not something I've brought up or put on the table for you to have in conversation?
Yeah. No, I get that. And I was almost on the tip of my tongue to go, well, it's like you coming in and talking about vaginas to me, but it's not really the same thing, is it? It's like,
yeah, it depends what angle. If I'm talking about vaginas in my experience,
but I think more so because of like I don't want to say the straight community, but we've never dealt with like the sort of like, people not enjoying us. Do you know what I mean? I was going
to say there's not a prejudice of a man
liking
a vagina.
Yes.
Do you know, there's not a prejudice there. But like, even again, I think you would be a bit weirded out if the only source of conversation we were having right now vaginas. Was about you specifically and your enjoyment for vagina.
Yeah, it's weird. It would be weird.
Has vagina been said this much time on a podcast ever before?
I have no idea, but I'm enjoying the fact that it is. This is the one podcast where the word vagina, Bob's and Vagine, as I like to call them. But no, what's it like when you receive those sort of, like, I know you don't like the term microaggression, but when someone says the book, the gay one or whatever, like what does that do to you internally? How do you feel about
that? I have a sense that I'm replaceable. Okay. I'm interchangeable with any other gay comedian in their eyes.
Okay.
But also I just think, well, you don't really know much about me or my set. You haven't looked at my set. because I'm more than that. You know, like you say, you opened with the council estate bit, and I would say that's probably more of my set than it is about me being gay.
So we need to refer to you as the council estate one from now
Yeah, I'm sure that's somebody else's USP, but I'll
book
I'll
that
pinch
council
it.
estate one, yeah.
So yeah, it's just not nice, and you kind of sit back and you go, so where it's like we're on different pages, or it's sometimes very generational. You go, okay, you're in that category, then this is how you're going to go on with me, is it? You're not going to be able to have a normal conversation about anything remotely normal. This is going to be the only thing that you're going to be able to fixate on.
Yeah,
and
which is weird when you think
that's
about
the weird thing when they fixate on it. You go, why'd you fixate on it? Are you curious, or is it something you're uncomfortable with? Like, why are you held up on it? Because, like I say, when I walk into a room, even if it's never a gay comic, I'm not thinking about them being gay.
Yeah.
I don't think about a straight person being straight. So, yeah.
Do you think it's maybe it comes from that place of maybe they just haven't had that much experience talking to gay people? Do you think it's like a misunderstanding? Do you think it's like not misunderstanding, sorry, like they aren't educated in it, they don't really understand it, so they're kind of like covering themselves a little bit?
But again, I find that so bizarre. It has to come from a place of being uncomfortable, because even if I haven't spoke to many non-binary people, of which I have, I don't believe my first interaction with them specifically was all about them being non-binary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's many people in the world I haven't met from their backgrounds, but I don't hyperfixate on it. So just talk to people normally.
Yeah.
Don't, you know what I mean?
The only time I've only ever had a problem with one gay person was because they kept trying to repeatedly kiss me when I told them no. That was like the one time that I've ever had.
Trust me, I hate some gay people for that too.
Like, well, that's just people in general. Like if it was a girl trying to kiss you doing the same thing, it'd be weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just
that's
like
a personal problem.
I was quite young at the time. I was like, this is fucking weird. So, but last question on the main question on comedy for now is one that I ask every comedian that comes on. What's the worst or best heckle you've ever received?
Oh, well, I love this, that as I say, I'm more of a low status persona, and which are usually low status are more at risk of getting heckled, because the audience think they can get away with pushing the weight around and that they'll not do anything about it. But that's why I think I do have a high status energy. Like you say, when I come on stage and I say hello, I establish my dominance, so to speak. And so I very rarely get any heckles. I also, I might have spoke fast on this podcast, but on stage I am quite quick in terms of, gag. And so I don't leave room for people to interject. So the only times I've ever been heckled are when I've paused and I've asked the audience a question. And so I've gave them consent to interject or reply.
Yeah.
And I now use this in my sex. It absolutely tickled me pink. It was, I was talking about going to high school, which was a sports college. And, I won an award in sport. And I say, I cannot rack my brains to save my life to tell you which award I won in sport. And I used to, I don't do this anymore, I used to open up to the audience to have a guess. And I did that, and someone shouted hopscotch. So it's like, that's tastefully homophobic. That's like, it's like touche,
Yeah, fair play, sir. Yeah, fair play.
Because it's not like, I just loved it, because it also played into that camp sense. That's the type of comment you would have got, the nuance you would have got from the 70s with my heroes,
Yes.
If you saw Larry Grayson doing a sketch of him boxing, it wouldn't be a picture of him with the gloves on beating someone up. It would be a picture of him having too much fun with the skipping ropes.
Yes.
It's that insinuation that, isn't this gay, without actually having to say it. So I loved it. I loved that heckle.
No, I love that. So I want to go back to the 9 to 5 thing that we were talking about before, because it's something that, like, you've said to me on the phone that it's quite hard for you to do that. You don't want to do that life anymore. Like, you have the 7-day weeks and stuff like that. Like, but it's kind of shit on a little bit, I think, the 9 to 5 at the minute. Everyone's trying to break this 9 to 5 thing. Everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, or thinks they have to be an entrepreneur, or be self-employed. Like, where do you sit on the mindset towards the 9 to 5, first of all?
So, at the time, and I think this is the problem with the education system, you go through primary school, secondary school, usually you push straight into sixth form or college, then you go to university. I didn't go to university, and so when I came out of college, I went into work. And at no point in that do you ever get a break.
Yes.
To just live life. Every day is dictated by a schedule. Every day you wake up, you've got to wake up this time, then you've got to go to this place and do this, and then you go home. And I was always exhausted, so I'd go to sleep and I'd just wake up the next day, and it's like repeat.
Yeah.
So at the time, I knew I had to get away from a 9 to 5, because I had this weird constant thought of, you know what it is, if I dropped dead tomorrow, of which we all could, I go, you know, the 18, 19 years I've been on this earth, I've never once got to dictate what I do. You know, I'm always, somebody else is always dictating what I did.
Yeah.
And so I thought, if I can just have a year off, and even if I decide to stay in bed for that entire year, at least I decided it. You know, I made that decision. Okay, Connor, today you're going to do absolutely nothing. And I love that sort of autonomy. Now, I'm not against 9-to-5 jobs. In fact, I've been, you know, I haven't had one in 2 years, over 2 years. And I quite like the idea of it now. You know,
Okay.
because it does, you know, if you don't keep yourself busy, the what's the word for it?
In a
the
routine.
the novelty wears off of all this free time. The novelty wears off, and there are so much benefits that come with it. Social elements. You know, it's quite nice sometimes to build towards a career and to work your way up the ranks. My only problem with it was it restricted my creativity.
Yes.
And it restricted what I could do. You know, if I, for example, I've been shortlisted 3 times for the BBC Comedy Awards, and that requires me usually to go to a complete different city on the other side of the country, do, you know, essentially an audition round, and stay over in a hotel.
Yeah.
You know, and 9-to-5s, you know, the idea of you going to do comedy isn't really a reason to have time off work.
Yeah.
So it gets in the way of things like Edinburgh Fringe. I remember working at P&G, and I had to fight tooth and nail just to get 2 weeks off work, which 2 weeks I'm bloody entitled to. You know, I have 20 odd days a year. I should be able to take them consistently in a row if I wish to.
Yeah.
But, and I gave them months advance notice, and still it seemed to be an issue, almost like they were doing me a favour of giving me the time off.
Yeah.
And I went, this isn't a favour to me. This is something I'm legally entitled to.
Yeah.
And, you know, I ended up staying at the Fringe for a month, but
a few weeks extra. I actually begged my old when I worked in the restaurant. I actually begged my old manager for a month off.
Yeah,
to do
that was the original request. They wouldn't give us it.
Yeah, to do. I'm always grateful to my manager. Shout out to Helen if she ever listens to these. But she was great, and she was like, "Okay, I understand. Yeah, you need this time. Go and do it."
So I would love a 9-to-5 if I had a manager that like that. And to be fair, I had a brilliant manager. My employer was a little bit more corporate, but my manager really used to fight for us to get days off.
Yeah.
And they were fantastic. But 9-to-5s, I think, brilliant things. People need them. It's a source of income.
Yeah.
Some people enjoy them, but
it's good routine as well.
It's good routine. I think there's so many benefits to it, but I just hate sometimes how restricting they can be for life in general.
Yeah, it's hard because then you've got that window of after work, but like not. Sometimes you need to be, like you were saying, like you need to be at a random audition on a Tuesday afternoon. You know, it's hard to get that creativity. But I think my biggest issue is like everyone on podcasts at the minute, and that's the one thing I never wanted this podcast to turn into, was one of those Alpha Bro podcasts, right?
Well, you're not going to get that with me.
No. I don't know. You did do a plumbing apprenticeship,
yeah.
But it's like where they're like, oh, you need to break the 9-to-5, you need to get out of this, you need to work for yourself, you need to do this. I'm like, not everyone's born to work for themselves. Not everyone's
it's
born
hard.
for it. You gotta like manage your time more effectively, your money more effectively. Like, it's not always as social as you think. Like, a lot of people think, oh, I run my own business, I can pick my own hours. No, you fucking can't.
No, you have to do more hours than you previously did.
Exactly.
So much more responsibility on yourself. I mean, the ambition you have to have, the drive, the motivation to work on your own accord. I can hold my hands up and say I've had 2 years off work. I do stand-up comedy on the evenings. I do little bits of freelance to pick up money. But I'm terrible at the self-employed lifestyle. Because even when it comes to stand-up comedy, I'll be honest and I'll say I have a lack of, motivation. I don't think it's a lack of motivation. I think it's a lack of purpose. Why would I travel all the way to the other side of the country to do an unpaid, sometimes if you're not gig for that promoter, an unpaid spot, 10 minutes, for nothing? It's going to cost me to do it. I'm going to travel all that way, and what am I going to get out of it? And you know, I just don't do that anymore. I don't do it because I have to look at the benefits. And a lot of people would disagree with that and say, oh, he's not got the work ethic. And I go, no, sometimes you just do things for the sake of it because that's what people do. And you go, no, look at the benefits. If nothing's going to come of it, it's not worth it.
Exactly. You don't need, like, I got invited to do a podcast in Leeds, for example. Right? And I was like, that's a solid trip to do. I was like, is it filmed? Is there a way to film it? No, I was like, I need that. The footage is what is going to sell it. So I'm like, if it was filmed, I'd go. but if it's not, then I'm sorry, I can't do it,
Yeah,
kind of thing, do you know, because it's a long trip. So sometimes these opportunities will come up, and like you said, people think, oh, well, you should be grateful for the opportunity. Sometimes it's like, well, there's no benefit in this, do you know what I mean? Like,
and a lot of the comedy industry is that you should be grateful for this opportunity, this unpaid 10.
Yeah.
You know, this trial to be seen in front of me. I'm like, who are you and what are you going to give us?
Yeah.
Because if it's nothing, I couldn't care less what you think of us.
When you're self-employed, there's got to be a mutual benefit. I mean, I'm not self-employed, but like, I obviously this business here is the one that I work in, you know, the gym. It's just me and Luke that run it and stuff, you know, and I've seen some of the things as a self-employed man. He's got responsibilities to me because I'm his employee and stuff like that. I don't want that fucking responsibility. I don't want to do taxes and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's that side of things that people don't think, but they get all these people on podcasts and you know, all over YouTube saying break the 9 to 5, work for yourself. It's like, not everyone's born for that.
It's so true.
Like,
not everyone's born for it. Not everyone's born for it. It's like the same with the arts. Like, this lifestyle is not for everyone. But for those that it is, it's you know, it's unnegotiable. You have to do it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Where do you sit on the work-life balance side of things? That's something that people bring up all the time.
Yeah, I love it. In fact, there's no balance. It's mainly life and a little bit of work.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, even now, for example, last night I was up till 4 a.m. doing a job application. You know, shows how successful comedy is going. But it's not because comedy's not working, but a job opportunity came up for me. It's almost like, do you know, like, not a zookeeper, but you know, like, you work in an animal facility and you go around and you give tours and exhibitions and talks.
Oh yeah, you'd be amazing at that. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's always been my dream since I was tiny, and I never had the grades to pursue it, but I always loved the idea of working in that sort of capacity. And I've applied for it, and that's only 7 hours. And I go, brilliant, I can commit 7 hours a week to that.
Yeah.
You know, even the bar work I do now and again, sometimes I jump in and do a little bit of bar work.
Yeah.
I've only done it as of December, and I don't think I'll be continuing it. It's
it's a tough one.
It's a hard job.
Yes.
Customer service, hard bloody job.
Yes.
But you know, again, what I love is being able to pick your shifts, when you're working. Even if I do this, you know, zoo job, whatever it is, I can say, okay, I'm available for 7 hours, but I'll tell you when them 7 hours are.
Yeah.
There has to be negotiation there. That's one thing I think was missing from my full-time employment, is there was not everything was non-negotiable. If you didn't do it, it was the sack.
Yeah.
If you didn't do it, you were getting told off. And it's like, you should be appreciative that I turn up to work every day. This is such a generational divide here, because I think a lot of people go, that's a terrible attitude, but I go, I'm a human being, I don't have to turn up to work today.
Yeah.
I could absolutely screw over your entire operations by not coming in for a few days because I can't be bothered. So you should be grateful that I do have a great attendance and I do come in. So when I do ask for a day off and I gave you plenty of time's notice, you should respect that and say, all right, there's
no, I agree.
There's a holiday that you're entitled to anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
I'm so not employable.
Well, this will go out after the zoo's accepted.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I recognise that I have a terrible authority problem.
But most people I've talked to who do creative stuff they want to. It's the freedom of choice I think people want the most. And that's what draws people to these breaking the 9 to 5, is they think they're going to have more freedom of choice. But in actuality, I think what you do gives you that freedom of choice to go, I'm going to fucking play with animals for 7 hours a week, fuck it, you know what I mean? I'm going to give it do you know what I mean? That's the level of freedom that most people want. So I think, but most people think financial freedom and stuff like that, but it's a lot of it is, if you can cover your bills and you can cover most of your expenses, for the most part you can do whatever you want with that time that's yours.
Exactly.
But at the time of recording this, I am currently 2 and a bit months away from turning 30. And I'm constantly aware, I've been constantly aware since the age of 21 that the sand in my hourglass is slowly running out. And you're 24, correct?
Yeah.
So I'm curious, as a question that I haven't really asked many people before is, what do you hope your life looks like when you reach my age? When you reach 30, would you have...
When I grow up.
Would there be anything, when you grow up, is there anything that you can imagine, like, regretting having not done by the time you reach, 29, 30?
Yeah, it's interesting. Anything I regret? I mean, there's things I regret already. I mean,
regret doing or not doing?
Not doing, or ways in which I did things. Even since 2 years ago, leaving my job, I'd saved a load of money, and there's 2 ways in which I could have spent it. I could have spent it all within a year, got a car, and probably had to have gotten a full-time job in order to keep the car. A year later. I could have did that and then really, really pursued comedy in the way that most people do, where it's traveling on the other side of the country for no money to go and do a trial spot and to build up that reputation. Or I could have do what I've done, which is have double the time of 2 years, not have a car. But by God, have I had some experiences. Like, I've been to the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. I went to both of her funerals, Scotland and London. I've been on holiday twice in the 2 years that I've been off, which I never would have ever, thought would be so fruitful with my money and spend it like that. Back and forth to London. I've been to Brighton doing some gigs. Again, I'm selective of the gigs I do.
Yes.
I don't mind travelling the length of company if it's something I'm interested in and worth doing. That's a brilliant gig. So I went to Brighton, I went to Southampton, I went to Llandudno, Wales. That was a bizarre one. And so it's like I either spend all the money and invest in a car, or I spend 2 years really living life, still pursuing comedy, but living it more fruitfully.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that goes, I wish I had the car right now, but also I wouldn't be in the position I am right now if I'd made that commitment.
That's so interesting, because I had the same sort of mindset when I was like probably around your age as well, actually, because I didn't have a car until I passed my test at like 19, and I didn't get a car until I was probably 25 maybe, and that was out of necessity because I got this job and I needed to drive 40 minutes to get here. So, but it was like, I loved the fact that I had money to spend on experiences. I think that was the biggest thing for me. And I loved hearing that, actually. It's taking me back a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not like I was I wanted the money and the time to piss it up the wall. Like, yeah,
you weren't going getting drunk every weekend.
Yeah, there were monumental experiences, like the ones about the Queen, or there was 2 holidays, but that was family. And the first holiday I went on with my partner. So they were kind of, again, like, great experience you wouldn't want to miss out on. And like I said, I was very selective about when I spent my money, and for the most part I was just either in the house saving or working. So if by the time I'm 30 I'd like to be a professional comedian, a pro comedian, making a living, not a lot, just a living off regional work. There's a key in that.
Okay, yeah.
And a lot of pro comedians, old school ones, will bite me head off for saying this. But my dream isn't to travel up and down the country on a Monday night, driving up and down the motorway, doing 14-hour drives. And I mean, for money that you barely make a profit off because of the expenses. Yeah. That's not the dream. For me, as a comic, it's so different to many other of my peers who want to be like, I don't know, just regular club comedians making people laugh. I want to build a body of work, to say it on film, to be able to capture it and stand the test of time. Do you know, like, that sounds so arrogant, but for example, like Bobby Thompson's work, if you look at that, it's like a time capsule of what life is like in the Northeast, what the humour's like in the Northeast, the hardships of the 80s and the Thatcher situation, always being in debt and the poverty side of things. And yes, he was a character and a stereotype, but people laughed at it because they're related in some way.
Yes.
There was so I love his body of work. I've got his collections and everything, because I look at that and I go, okay, that's, like I say, it's a body of work. Whether that was his intention or not, you go, that's a time capsule.
Yeah.
I love for my comedy to end up being something like that, to where that could take me a lifetime to do. I'm not saying in the next 10 years, but that's certainly something. That's where my head is goal wise.
That's a great call. I admire the hell out of that. Yeah, no, I think it's the same with everything that I've done. I mean, I've been in, like, I've done the YouTube game, and now I'm in the podcast game, and I'd love for, especially when I have kids, like, because I want to have a couple of kids or whatever. But I'm like, they can watch this back and see where their dad was at that time of life, things like. But even like if you go back now and watch my old YouTube videos, which are terrible, but I keep them there because, like you said, it's a time capsule of the time of my life, and then how people can see that, So I'm hoping, in the regional way, I want to be the biggest podcast in the Northeast. Yeah, I'm not quite going like I want to be the biggest one in the UK yet, because that's such a lot of work, but it could work, But like, at least in the Northeast, to have everyone of name and note or whatever come on the show, or even help people, like, who maybe don't have a bigger a platform yet, like they could come on here and maybe that could be the thing that gives them a bigger platform, you know, things like that. Like that's what I really want to.
I love the focus on the regional aspect, because again, everyone seems to have goals of being national or international, and it's like, I would be so lucky if I could live off a freelance income, doing, you know, sometimes youth facilitation work, theatre work, bits of stand-up comedy. Like, it doesn't. The dream isn't just having a stand-up income, because to be honest, if I did stand-up and that was the only thing I had, I'd become bored of it. You would. Like, to be fair, every comedian who starts doing comedy and taking it seriously ends up killing their love for enjoying stand-up to some degree, unless you have a real good comedian who can sort of like put you back in that position of an audience and you're not over-analysing everything.
Well, what you've said there's a lot about giving back to the, because obviously going right back to the beginning about the council estate things, like it's very much you're giving back to the region that raised you, I guess you could say. Yeah, the way you talk about doing all these shows and putting things together is for other people as well, you know.
Yeah, it would be nice to represent people. Yeah, it's not the intention, but if it does that would be a brilliant benefit.
Well, it's one of those things that where it benefits you and it benefits more people. That's a massive win. You know? Like things like that will benefit so many more people.
The only intention of sort of being that sort of like I say, time capsule of my period of life on the council estate and my family's background is simply out of pure love and passion. Because I think we come from a great place, a great region, full of so many interesting characters who were, you know, built under the pressure of hardship, really. And I can't think of another sort of community where you get that anywhere near the same interesting and diverse amount of characters as you do in the working class. Yeah, I really can't.
Well, speaking of select type of characters, you are in wrestling training currently.
I am in wrestling training, yeah.
As a little segue there.
This is what I mean. I'm not a stereotype. I do it all.
So, like, when you told me that, that caught me off guard, because I was like, I've seen you on stage, like, wrestler, but that was a quick judgment. But where did that come from? Like, why get into it now?
So there's a thing called Felt Now Comedy Cooperative, and that's a cooperative of a load of comedians, and essentially they put on some social events sometimes, and one of them was a wrestling training I say course. It was 3 hours. It was like an induction,
an intensive course.
Yeah, an intensive course. And it's so weird, the crossover between a lot of comedians and wrestling. I mean, not only are a lot of comedians wrestling fans, but also a lot of comedians go, oh yeah, I used to be a wrestler. And you go, you used to be a wrestler? And it's so bizarre.
I would never have put that together.
Honestly, it's mad, the crossover. And so because of them connections, we were able to get this 3-hour introduction session, and the idea came up, and it's already been done at the Edinburgh Fringe, I believe it's already been done on TV right now, where it's comedians wrestling, but the idea of a charity event came up in conversation. I says, well, if you want a charity event and you want me to be a part of it, I'll put in the work and I'll actually do the training.
Nice.
So, you know, I've followed through with it, and also as I say, I'm a committee member and co-founder of Heat and Pride, and again, conversations, this might not happen, but conversations about a charity wrestling match or a pride wrestling match has came up, and I went, you know what it is, if you want that, I can make it happen, but as I say, put myself through the ring to do it.
Nice. Do you have a favourite wrestler?
Ric Flair.
Okay, nice. The classic.
Yeah.
Nice. What kind of moveset would you like to incorporate?
See, I love technical aspects. Okay. I'm not a big fan of flips. That sounds like such an old.
It's not like a Rey Mysterio kind of vibe.
No interest in that. I am much more. I love technical style wrestling. I love grappling. I could watch for hours, like the more technical aspects, like Zack Sabre Jr., where it's chain wrestling. No one takes a bump within 15 minutes or 30 minutes because it's just one hold to another hold and reversal to another hold, and it's a real competition.
Yeah,
I love that aspect, and also for longevity, if I don't have to take any bumps and just do,
because we were talking before about the bumps to the head, like causing a lot of problems.
Yeah. I mean, we've been the first day we did in training, we did bumps. And that's to, you know, weed out who will and won't commit to doing it. Because if you can't take a bump, you're not going to be able to do anything.
Do you mean like where you bounce off the...
Bump is landing on your back.
It's quite a bouncy floor, isn't it? Like, I say bouncy floor. It's got some give, but it's not...
Yeah, it's an interesting one because I have a really high pain threshold. Okay?
That's probably good for being a wrestler. Yeah.
So to me, and I think there's an element of the bigger you are, the harder you fall. Well, I'm practically friggin' 5'5" and bloody, 4 stone wet. So it's like, I don't really have a problem taking a bump and getting back up like that.
Yeah.
But when I see lads who are like 6'6" and
steroids,
I'm not going to presume their weight, but when they go down, the noise it makes, and trust me, they're not getting up as quick, and they're not as willing to take as many bumps. And I think there's a massive difference in the impact that I'm receiving because of my stature versus your stature. But bumps hurt nevertheless.
Oh yeah, especially off the ropes. I mean, my boss does. He's done wrestling training for a while, and he used to show us his back after the ropes, and I was like, oof. Like bouncing off the ropes as well, and the floor, like the state he'd come back in. I was like, oof, bro, you're beating up.
At the moment, we're just taking like basic bumps where you go from standing position down, but the bumps get so much more extreme. You're doing them off things, and you're increasing the height, and there's just so many elements. Sometimes you're not getting slammed on the ring. Sometimes you're getting slammed on the floor outside the ring, which hurts a lot more. Outside, and it's all about landing in the most safe way possible and making sure when you land, you're all that impact's going out, so you're doing as much as you can, but it still hurts.
Are you a jump off ropes kind of person?
Not that I've done yet. I don't think I will, because even if I was, I mean, the most you're going to get from us is a crossbody. I'm not going to be doing a moonsault.
Would you be, I don't know the technical terms, but I know heel is the baddies. Would you be a heel or would you be a hero, I guess?
I think I would be a heel, but that's because my favourite's Ric Flair. Fair. And it's so much easier, I think, to be hated than to be liked. Try to be liked as such.
Could you play into the evilness of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Just being smug or egotistical, and with comics that comes very naturally. So it's like that would be an easier job, but also it depends on how the audience perceive you. I could go in with the intention of being a heel, but then if the audience are cheering us and they see me as a baby face because of the way I look, maybe I'll get a cheer. Who knows?
So you're gonna keep the face clear? You're not gonna wear a mask or anything, no?
No, I'll keep the face and I'll have the hair. Like in stand up, if you're looking at me on this podcast, this is not how I look in stand up. Usually have a little touch of makeup on, have the hair all done nice and big, Maggie Thatcher, Princess Diana style. In wrestling, I'll probably continue that.
Oh, so you're going to keep like that sort of flair to it, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, I like that, yeah.
I mean, because they were saying nobody comes to wrestling to watch average people.
Fair.
So if you're going in looking like an average bloke, then they're going to go, right, well, what we're paid for.
You got to do like a little like sort of hair thing when you knock someone down, like that's
the
thing, like when someone's flattened, you're like, haha.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great. But
it's all for charity. That's the ambition with that.
Yeah.
I'm doing the sessions as long as I can afford it. I'll keep doing that. It's good fun as well. It's good social, and God, it's exercise. That's one thing I've never been able to do is commit to a gym. I've paid for it. I've not attended. So it's that thing of going, actually, this is really intense workouts, but it doesn't feel like it because in a gym, I don't have the attention span to sit there and just do monotonous exercise over and over again. Yeah. But in a ring where there's a social element, there's a competition element of it.
Running around, it's a bit more. It's like childlike, and it's like childlike fun that you have in the park and stuff.
So much more entertaining. I'm never looking at the watch thinking, "Oh, where am I getting out?"
Yeah, I love that. But I have one final question for you,
Go on,
which I'm sure because you've listened to other episodes in the past, you know that this question is a question that I ask all the guests that come on the show, and you can answer it however you want. But the question is simply, do you consider yourself a success?
Right now, absolutely, yeah. From the background that I come from and what people originally were expecting from me, and to see what I went out and done. I also accept that, I think there is the element of luck in everything in life. I'm very fortunate that, I was in a position where I didn't have many outgoings because I was living at home with my mum, and she's been, very helpful and not charging me £700 for rent.
Yeah.
So it's like,
nice. Go, mum.
so little changes like that just make things open so many doors.
Yes.
I've been so fortunate. And my idea of success is very different from other people's success. Like I say, I'm not a full-time pro comedian. I'm not doing enough work to consider myself as that. But I'm in a position where I make a livable amount from freelance work. I broke out of a 9-to-5, not because 9-to-5 is bad, but specifically because it didn't work for me. I'm doing creative stuff. There's just, I have so much choice
Yes.
And that's such a luxury that not everyone gets, especially from a council estate. You know, there's so much dependency on finances. And I've somehow ended up finding the opportunity to make that break and go, okay, I'm going to pursue this.
Yeah.
And I've landed on my feet. Again, not everyone lands on the feet. And, you know, it's easy to say, sit here and go, oh, but I'll put in the work. But there's a huge element of luck. There's so many hard workers in the world. I mean, Nana being one of them. And you go, my God, how did I end up in this position and you didn't end up so fortunate? There's a level of guilt from it as well.
There is a level of luck
Massive
to it. Yeah,
level
you're
of
right.
guilt.
Yeah.
People who have had it so much harder yet don't seem to have the positive karma that comes back round from it.
Yeah. I think sometimes it happens for some people at different times, regardless of some people can work hard for 2 years and make it, others it takes 10, 15.
And I haven't even made it. That's the thing. Like, I've been going 2 years and I've got myself into a position where I'm happy and content. But, you know, a peer next to me might not be content until they get live at the Apollo. So they'll be looking at me thinking, God, what an amateur. And I'm going, hey, if this is life for me, I'm happy I've made it for me.
And sometimes that is the best success. I mean, like you said, everyone's success is kind of everyone has different takes on it. But
exactly.
I love your take on it. Yeah, it's fantastic. So, Connor, where can people follow you? Where can people find you? And what have you got coming up that people might be able to come and attend?
So you can find me at Connor Reid Comedy on all the social medias, TikTok, Instagram and Facebook. And I have a solo show coming up on the 7th of November at the Stand Comedy Club in Newcastle. It's an afternoon show on a Saturday, so we'll all get home early, which is exactly what my audience
I love that you were talking about being an old woman and like an old woman on stage. Yeah, exactly.
And that is all about me, Nana. It's all about her life. Because that's the thing, I'm a 24-year-old, and one thing that I heard a lot getting into comedy, especially as a 18, 19-year-old, was, as a young person, you've got no life to talk about. And, you know, I think you do, if you're as eclectic as I. You do have a lot of quirky observations and outlooks. But also, I have a lot of other people's stories to tell. I think that's a massive thing as well in the working class, is that our stories don't get documented like royalty.
Yeah.
You know, so they get lost to the ages. You know, a few generations, people forget who or where they come from, and that story disappears and it's not documented. So as I was saying about creating bodies of work, this hopefully will get recorded and we'll be able to sit there and go, okay, that's me Nana's life and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I was going to say you got to get it recorded, especially if you're doing like a solo show. Has to be
fingers
recorded.
crossed, but I'll be doing that at the Stand in November. You'll be able to see as many other nights at the Stand Comedy Club if you want, but you will pay 20 odd quid for a weekend gig, or you can come see me for £10.
Not doing any Red Rolls? Doing any Red Rolls coming up?
Yeah, I'm headlining my first ever Red Row in March, sometime in March, end of March, I think.
So you're comparing it then?
Headlining. So
headlining, sorry.
Yeah, 20 minutes at the end, 25 minutes at the end.
Nice.
So, honestly, if you check the website before you buy a ticket, usually, not Red Rows, but Friday, Saturday, Sundays, and I think Thursdays as well, list who's going to be on, so you might see me on.
Nice. Fantastic. Connor, mate, it has been a pleasure to talk to you today. But as always, guys, please go and follow Connor on all the social media channels and check him out at the Stand if you get the chance as well. Actually, not if you get the chance, just fucking make the time, will you? Just go and see him at the Stand. And as always, rate the podcast 5 stars. No 4 stars, right, Connor?
Absolutely.
5 stars. 5 stars only, or just politely leave. But as always, guys, take care, and I will see you all in the very next episode. See you soon.